And just so you know that we're recording, just so that you all can make sure to watch these videos on your own time. These will not be shared publicly. So our goal for this workshop is to really understand the intersection of the 2 points that we're working on and figuring out how we can better understand the consumers that you work with. So the work we'll be doing this week and next week will teach you not only the concept of what human-centered design is and the tools and what they mean, but we'll also have the ability to test out what the practical applications of human-centered design tools are. And we hope that this will likely be impactful in your day-to-day work, and we hope that with the examples we provide, you'll have a better sense of what that can look like. You'll learn a little bit about behavioral economics, which is really just to understand how people make decisions, especially based on economic decision making. So questions like, how do people make decisions to spend their money? There's a lot of psychology in this, a lot of economics, but it's really just a new way of thinking about how people go about their day-to-day lives. I think it's really interesting, and I hope you'll take a lot away from that. We'd also like to share some research with you that we've conducted in Lesotho, specifically about women-owned businesses. So we'll share some of those highlights, and you'll be able to have some real-world insights to think about throughout the workshop. I believe we'll also post some of these materials on our e-learning platform, so you'll have some time to review them. At the end of the workshop, you'll also learn more about how to test prototypes of products and services. You'll get a chance to work on your own prototypes and understand how you can evaluate quantitatively whether the prototypes are working. And you'll kind of have a better sense of understanding how you can measure impact for your organization going forward. So yeah, I hope this workshop experience is really interesting for everybody. And we tried to design the curriculum to make sure that everything will have a practical impact in your day-to-day, and have built in a lot of kind of interactive and discussion sessions that we can hear from you as well. Next slide, please. So I'm pleased to also introduce our facilitators, but I'll have them kind of give an introduction by themselves. Dr. David West, perhaps you can start. Is Dr.
Yeah, Prof is not on the call today, but I think we can take Dr. Ihanacho's introductions.
Perfect.
Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on what part of the world you're joining from. My name is Nkemdelin Ihanacho, and I work in the Sustainable and Inclusive Digital Financial Services Initiative in Lagos Business School. In that capacity, okay, so there's a question in the chat asking whether we'll be sharing the presentation. I'd leave Ibuku, Emmanuel, and Tambi to respond to that. Yeah, so I thank you all. In my role in the Sustainable and Inclusive Digital Financial Services Initiative, I lead work on supply side. I also lead research streams, and I contribute to stakeholder engagements. So I'm going to be with you all over the next couple of sessions, and I'm thrilled and I'm excited at the time we're going to be spending together. I hope it's going to be useful for you. And more importantly, I look forward to the very useful and exciting takeaways that will come from this program. Thank you all, and speak soon.
Thank you so much. Next slide, please. Okay, thank you. Okay, so quickly, I'd like to just give you some background on what IPA is, in case you're unfamiliar with our work. So we're a research and policy nonprofit. Our headquarters are in Washington, D.C., but we actually have 22 country offices all around the world, and have worked in over 50 countries. We've been in operations for about 20 years now, and our goal is to create and share evidence. So we actually do work in a lot of different sectors, including education, health, even peace and recovery, and financial inclusion, which is the team I represent. We've done over 900 evaluations around the world. Most of them are randomized control trials, but we do use other forms of rigorous evaluation, such as survey work, A/B testing, and market research. And we'll kind of get into some of these methodologies throughout the workshop. So we work with a team of scientific researchers and economists that are based all around the world, and we have more than 700 government, nonprofit, private sector, and international partners. And some of our private sector partners include financial service providers such as yourselves. So all of our partners help us deliver some of these programs and services. And I'll drop our website in the chat in case you guys are interested in learning more. But this is all to really say that a lot of the sessions in this workshop will be grounded in some of the work and evidence that IPA has created. Next slide. Okay, so Timothy, perhaps you can introduce the Sustainable and Inclusive Digital Financial Services Initiative.
Thank you very much, Tandy. So I'll be introducing SIDFS. So the Sustainable and Inclusive Digital Financial Services Initiative is an initiative of the Lagos Business School with the goal of creating an inclusive ecosystem for financial services in Nigeria. And so our core objective is to enhance the responsiveness of financial services providers to both create and deliver compelling value propositions to low-income elements in Nigeria, particularly the poor, women, and rural dwellers. So we do this across 4 pillars. We do the equip pillar, which talks about our capacity building programs. So we have capacity building programs for both financial services providers and regulators as well. The program for financial services providers is titled Building and Enhancing Sustainable Business Models for Financial Inclusion. So we also run human-centered design labs similar to what you're participating in right now, essentially to help financial services providers create appropriate products for excluded segments by adopting the human-centered design tools and methodology. So we do research also to create evidence base for financial inclusion in Nigeria. We also do a lot of engagements where we facilitate thematic conversations between providers and regulators and kind of encourage partnerships between providers as well. So we do advocacy as well. We have a lot of advocacy initiatives that we do, articles, social media posts, and things like that, just to advocate for the cause of financial inclusion in Nigeria. So this is just a brief overview of the Sustainable and Inclusive Digital Financial Services Initiative at Lagos Business School. And it's a pleasure meeting everyone on the call. Thank you. Next slide.
Wonderful, thank you for that introduction. Okay, so as soon as we wrap up these introductions, we can. I'm sorry, was there a question?
No, it's someone who hadn't muted.
Okay, no worries. Can we go back to the agenda slide, actually? So I just wanted to give you all kind of like a brief overview of the agenda. So we'll start off with explaining a little bit about what human-centered design is, so that we're all starting off with the same definition. And then we'll go into our interactive sessions, starting with working with you all to kind of like define what human-centered design is and how you can use it as an opportunity for your business. And then we'll take a break, and then after the break, we'll talk about conducting customer research. And then we'll close out the day with a summary of today and an overview of what we'll cover on Thursday. Okay, next slide. Okay, just last bit of housekeeping, just some workshop rules. I think you guys are all kind of familiar with this after 2 years of operating on Zoom, but Please try to keep your mics muted unless you have a question. And we do definitely encourage questions, so please use the raise hand button every time you have a question, or feel free to drop anything into the chat. If you want to ask anything privately, you can send a private message to anyone with the IPA or LBS tag on their names. Please keep your video off for the duration. On for the duration of the workshop, unless you're having bandwidth issues, and we understand if you need to turn them off for whatever reason. Like I asked at the beginning, please rename your device to include your organization's name. I'd also like to mention that we will be offering a certificate of completion at the end of the workshop, but we do request that you try to attend about 80% of the workshops, which means you attend, nearly all of them, but if you have to log off at certain points, that's we understand, but try to attend for 80% of the workshop. And then some other ground rules as we're speaking and sharing ideas. We want to keep this an open space. So if you have ideas that, if you hear an idea that you disagree with, let's not judge too quickly. Let's kind of hear with an open mind. Let's really embrace unconventional thinking and engage with some of those ideas. We'll try not to talk over one another. We'll let one conversation end before we begin another. And again, I want to emphasize that we really do encourage ideas. This workshop is really meant to be collaborative. So we want to hear what you think, and we want you all to engage with one another. Okay, next slide. Thank you. Okay, I'll pass it off. Timothy or Bukun, is someone from LBS ready to present these slides?
Dr. Kim, are you set?
I'm ready to go. So can I have the next slide? I hope you all can hear me.
Yes, perfectly.
You can.
Great. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to, next slide. Next. So, ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to spend time understanding what human-centered design is, why human-centered design is very useful in the creation and delivery of financial services. We would also understand when exactly to use human-centered design. You know, that's essentially what I'm going to be spending time with you on today. Now, what's human-centered design? Human-centered design is essentially a problem-solving process that starts with the user in mind and culminates into new and innovative solutions. Now, what are some very important components or aspects of human-centered design? Empathy. Empathy is extremely essential in the human-centered design process. So you have to put yourself in the shoes of the consumer for whom you are designing the product or the solution. So there's a difference between how products are traditionally designed, where companies actually sit down, think about the consumer, and are trying to sell a solution to the consumer. But then in human-centered design, what you're essentially doing is you're taking a step back and you're trying to build a solution for that consumer. You're trying to build a solution that mirrors the real life circumstances of the consumer. You're trying to build a solution that addresses the needs, the pains, the fears, the aspirations, the contextual difficulties of the consumer. You're trying to build a solution or a product that is able to solve the customer's financial service needs and then help pull or plug into the entire context of the consumer's overall life. So whether the consumer is a farmer, a trader, a teacher, a public servant, you're trying to build a solution that doesn't just address the financial service needs, but takes into consideration all of the problems, aspirations, and circumstances the consumer faces. Another very important component of human-centered design is that you have to generate a multitude of ideas. So you don't just build human-centered design products by using only one idea. You pull in data from multiple sources. And essentially, what are you trying to achieve? You're trying to ensure that you have ideas that are rich and robust enough that they're able to address as many, if not all, of the needs, the fears, the concerns, as well as the aspirations of the consumer. And another very important component of human-centered design is that you actually put your ideas out there in the real world, and you have a very creative way of measuring results. So you're creating a product for the consumer by looking at the product from the lens of the consumer. So rather than think about your product, think about your risk, think about your concerns, you take a step back and step into the shoes of the consumer. And you try to ask and answer the question, what does this consumer want? What are this consumer's needs? What are this consumer's fears? And how can I build a solution that speaks to the needs, the real life circumstances, as well as the aspirations of the consumer? Next slide. So can we have the video? I think there's a video on that slide, right? Okay, no, there's no video there. Yeah, okay. Sorry, the slide has gone off. Have we lost the projector?
No, he wants to play the video.
Okay.
What is human-centered design and why does it matter? Also known as design thinking and user-centered design, human-centered design puts people at the core of its products and programs. It's about designing with and not just for the end user, aiming to truly meet the needs of the beneficiary, customer, or client. Just another buzzword? Let's break down exactly what human-centered design is and why it matters for the global development community. Human-centered design has its origins in the private sector, in fields like user interface design and human-computer interaction. While the development community has long recognized the need for more participatory approaches, the sector still receives criticism for designing for problems instead of designing for people. But what does it mean to design for people? Before creating a solution, development professionals must thoroughly understand the problem. By engaging with communities and individuals, spending time with them, listening to their concerns, and understanding the specifics of their lives. This process involves the rigorous collection of qualitative data, which is turned into deep insights about a target audience and then is used to design a set of workable, personalized, data-driven solutions for each specific community or country. This means it's inherently built from what works in a given context, instead of trying to adapt an existing solution to fit unique circumstances. The next stage of human-centered design is prototyping. Prototyping is about getting ideas into the community to get active participation. Organizations can create a rough prototype that is introduced into the community for feedback and further refined into a pilot. This may seem like a lot of work before you begin to implement a solution. What makes it worth it? Development practitioners are already harnessing this approach at international organizations like UNICEF, philanthropic ventures like the Gates Foundation, and private sector development companies like Chemonics. Here are some benefits that they have shared. 1. It checks assumptions. Human-centered design helps organizations develop and build on new and ambitious ideas, rather than dismissing them out of hand before they have a chance to prove their worth. 2. It helps us cut waste. Human-centered design is a process that, if executed well, can drastically change the way we use and spend resources. 3. It helps us forge new partnerships. Human-centered design brings together different types of thinkers and makers, people who bring different disciplinary perspectives, cultural understandings, and creative abilities. Above all, it pushes us to get into a project with questions, rather than catch-all solutions. As human-centered design becomes more commonplace in global development, here are a couple things to remember as you apply it to your work. First, Have a solid grasp of what human-centered design is before deciding that it's the right methodology for you. Do your research and look thoughtfully within your organization or project to understand if and how human-centered design could add value. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. Rather, there may be elements of human-centered design that can complement and support what you're already doing, and other elements that are less relevant or too resource-intensive. Human-centered design is new to our community. Applying the method takes a shift in mindset. Be open, give it a try, and let us know how it works for you. Are you using human-centered design in your work? Share.
Okay, great. You're also going to have a link to that video in the eLearn platform. So Ibuku, can we have the slides back? So Tanvi, are you ready to take us through slide 15?
Yeah, definitely. So sometimes it's helpful to talk about an example rather than talking theoretically. And so I want to talk about this organization called Juntos. They're actually a technology company and they've been around for about 10 years. And they specialize in something called conversational account management. And that basically is an idea that allows customers to more easily communicate with banks. And Juntos has been using human-centered design for several years to improve communication, but it's really to improve trust. And so the idea here is that between customers and banks, when there's an increase in trust, customers will be more willing to take up and to continue to use a bank service. They'll also be more communicative, ask more questions, share their experiences, and build a relationship with a bank. So Juntos has been working with Access Bank in Tanzania to build a trust-based relationship between banks and customers at a broad scale. And so the goal here was to use trust as a way to build Access Bank's value proposition. And one way they did this was to focus on building a relationship with customers with the ultimate goal of increasing account balances. And so they educated customers about a new mobile banking product, and they communicated with approximately 140,000 customers, ranging from small business owners in Dar es Salaam to rural farmers that were struggling financially from a recent drought. So this kind of gets at the first part of human-centered design, which is like talking to the communities that you want to work in. And they conducted iterative testing of a prototype, which means that they conducted small-scale tests over and over again to understand what sort of messaging made sense for different customers. And so that gets at the iterative component and the rigorous testing component of the human-centered design that was discussed in the video. These tests lasted about 4 months, and they were able to use and collect all of this data on what sort of messaging worked, and they use that to optimize kind of like the final messages that they used for the broader campaign. And so they identified which messages were actually most effective for increasing account balances. And so eventually when they launched this campaign, the messages led to a real increase in account balances by about 8%. And so for Access Bank, you know, the cost associated with sending the messages was just the cost of the SMS. And so for the bank, it was a fairly low cost intervention, but they had kind of like a real impact on their customers. And so we've actually posted like a detailed case study about this on the e-learning platform, I believe, and you can read about it more there. I just kind of gave you a high level overview. Okay, next slide. Okay. Dr.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, Tanvi, are you?
Yeah, I'm here. I was just passing it off to you.
Center designed to tackle problems all across a product's life cycle. So be it piloting or recruitment of the customers, a significant role in behavioral level that can actually help the best of your customers. You would realize that you have segments, specific priorities, specific needs, and specific priorities. So human can actually help you understand what these new segments are, what the sizes of the segments are, what the behavioral characteristics of the segments are, and how you can actually reach these segments by redesigning the product, redesigning the delivery of the product, and better strategy to distribution. Human-centered design can also help drive customer retention. So because you're offering a solution services, but looks at the customer's entire life cycle, entire and if you're offering a stronger value proposition, what this automatically means is that you can actually improve journey, you can improve customer acquisition, you can improve customer acquisition, and then you can better tailor it. Next slide. Now, human-centered design. Human-centered design is oftentimes when
I don't know if it's
no, I think
connectivities from
yeah, I think it's Dr. Nkem's connectivity. So we'll just give him a minute to see if he comes back quickly, and hopefully maybe we'll just ask him to put off.
So when you are looking at outcomes like uptake, usage, retention, and conversion, all of these become critical in applying human-centered design. So human-centered design can play a very significant role and should actually be among the tools and the strategies used by FSPs when you don't just want to achieve product uptake, you want to achieve usage, you want to achieve retention, you want to achieve conversion, you even want to achieve referrals by existing customers to new customers. So all of these play significant roles in product design. Next slide. Now, the human-centered design has 3 typical steps: inspiration, ideation, and implementation. Now, let's go to inspiration. Next slide. Now, inspiration essentially refers to that process of defining the opportunity, carving out the segments of interest, and then exploring that opportunity. So let's go to next slide. Now, in defining the opportunity, the steps you typically take is that you start by, first of all, highlighting the internal priorities of the financial institution. So why are you embarking on this design or product creation effort? What does the financial service provider want to achieve and why? What are the desired outcomes? And what target customer segments are we trying to serve? So who are these customers? Where are they? What are their key defining characteristics? What makes them unique and what makes them different? Now, it's also important to define this opportunity in human terms, using how might we statements. So for example, you want to achieve something like customer onboarding, money transfer, saving and spending of money. You ask the question, how can we simplify the customer onboarding, the money transfer, or the saving and spending experience? You can ask the next type of how might we question. How might we increase? So how might we increase profitability, recycling, walking, or intergenerational communication? You might also ask, how might we decrease bullying, pollution, or homelessness? Now, the how might we question is so important because that's typically the first starting point of the design effort. Because you need to be clear as to what it is you want to achieve as an outcome. You also want to be clear on what the internal priorities are for your financial service provider. And you also want to establish what the target customer segments are. Next slide. Now, why is customer segmentation important? In all my years as a practitioner in the digital financial services space, as well as my years of experience in using HCD to design products, both inside and outside of financial services, one problem I have seen consistently is that financial service providers typically look at customer groups or customer universes homogeneously. Even when they realize that segments could exist and segments could be distinct, very little effort or very little skill exists in financial service providers, especially in emerging markets, in trying to understand who and who belong to these segments, what the criteria for defining and marking out these segments are, and how to better reach customers in these segments. Now, one recipe for failure in the design and the deployment of financial services is applying a one-size-fits-all approach. You assume that the customer in the northern part of the country consumes the same types of savings and credit products as the customer in the southern part of the country. You assume the risk issues are the same. You assume the needs are the same. You assume the aspirations are the same. You assume the industries to which these customers operate and play that defines their risk profiles are also the same. And hence you design one product and then you try to apply or deploy this product across all of the customers. Now, a Harvard Business School study actually found out that 95% of new consumer products fail each year, largely because of poor customer segmentation. So it's very important that even before you start out a design effort, you're clear in your mind as to who the customers are, what the size of the segment is, where the customers are, what the characteristics and the peculiarities of the segments are. So you see, customer segmentation would help us create better products, better services, and would help us sell in a much more customized and relatable manner. We'll understand the idiosyncrasies of the customers, we'll understand their fears, we'll understand their concerns. So rather than selling only product benefits, we could begin to sell the you appeals of the product. HCD also enhances customer segmentation beyond demographics. So HCD uses psychographics, uses behaviors, and helps give a lot more opportunities to connect with customers on a deeper level and build loyalty even better. Next slide. So this is a hypothetical example. Now, Superbank was born out of a merger, and it was a merger of 3 Nigerian banks in a bid to achieve compliance with the regulatory requirement mandating a $25 billion or a $60.4 million capital base in 2005. Post-consolidation, Superbank is considered a tier 2 player in the banking industry with a strong corporate banking portfolio, and Superbank wishes to complement the corporate business with a retail banking portfolio that will be largely reliant on digital technologies. Now, what are the key priorities? Firstly, grow the retail banking segment and customer base using digital technologies and an omni-channel approach. Grow a network of agents to offer seamless branchless banking services to the unbanked, focusing largely on the urban unbanked and the non-dedicated agents with existing businesses. Leverage existing synergies and cross-selling opportunities, thus for customers, offer value chain and ecosystem services, and provide end-to-end, which is full life cycle financial products and services, and ensure that the same level of service is delivered across all the channels of the bank, whether face-to-face or virtual. Now, can we go to the next slide? Okay. Now, this is how the opportunity brief template works, where you firstly define the internal priorities, speak to who the target segments are, you define the desired outcome for the target user, and then you try to ask and answer the how might we question. And then you do a sense check of this opportunity. So is this opportunity viable? Is it feasible? And is it desirable? So let's look at a typical opportunity. So in the case of Superbank, increase retail banking revenue, increase retail banking customer base, and expand services to women. The target customer, is the market woman. And the desired outcome for that target customer is to improve their savings culture and give them better access to loans. So the how might we question is, how might we increase our customer base by appealing to women? Now, what's the viability? 46.6% of women are unbanked and 19.5% of women are underbanked, creating a potentially untapped market of approximately 33 million women under the age of 51. Feasibility. New digital channels reduce the cost of customer acquisition, which makes it feasible to target emerging customer groups, including women. Desirability. Nigerian women would be interested in financial services, including payments, savings, and credit products to manage their households and invest in education and business. So I think it's time now we move to, so I think it's time now we move into our breakout rooms. Or Ibuku, is it time for a break?
No, we have the breakout rooms first.
Okay, we have the breakout rooms first. Okay, so let's go into the breakout rooms. Now, do we have the templates or the working materials for the breakout rooms already distributed?
So the worksheets that we're going to be using will be shared with us while we're in the breakout room. You know, someone from LBS or IPA was going to share it with them.
Okay, someone from LBS will share it and drive the breakout room process.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So maybe you can open up the rooms now and then let people get into the rooms.
All right, sir.
Thank you.
Are we already allocated? So
yes,
it will just take us to the rooms.
Yes, you're already allocated.
Thank you.
Essentially, what you're going to be doing right away is to carve out and create opportunities that will form your design effort. So you're going to try to answer those questions. What's the opportunity? What's the how might we question? Who is the target customer? What's the target outcome? Now, is this opportunity viable? Is it feasible? Is it desirable? So these are the key questions you're going to answer in the groups. But let's get into the groups because it's also quite exciting.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Also to note that this is just the first breakout activity. From here, we're going to be spending about 20 minutes in the breakout room. So we have to be very fast and very active. And when we're done, we're going to come back here, for a brief, some debrief, share our ideas, and then we'll do the second part of the workshop. And then, so let's not, from there think it's over. We're just getting started.
Yeah, that's very important. Please, we are not on a holiday. We're going to be working during the breakout groups. And after defining the opportunity brief, each of the groups will come back and present, and then we'll take feedback and critique it before we now move into the next phase, which is concept creation. So we're going to be having a lot of fun today, right?
Have we been given a guide on how to get into the groups?
So you will see a button on the Zoom chat inviting you to join your breakout room.
Okay.
So once the rooms are open, you'll see a button there and you'll be able to go into the room. So Ibuku, remember to make me a co-host before you open up the rooms.
Okay, so I have a few people here who Masud Pam. I'm not sure if you're in Letshego or you're in Masupam.
Masupam from Letshego.
I've added him to the Letshego group. So here, I think we just have LBS and IPA, right?
Yes.
Okay. So will someone from LBS be in each of the groups?
Yeah, someone from LBS is going to be in each of the groups. Tanvi, you could. I'm not sure if your colleagues would like to be in the groups too, or you have the ability to put them in any group you want. So.
Okay, that's great. So are you guys in the breakout groups yet? I only see people from Letshego and Phutalichaba in these groups. Hi, Rebecca. I'll add you to the room.
Great, great. We're all back. Hello.
I bet.
We are
But I
back.
thought we're supposed to go on a
So
break.
we were
So can
starting
we
to
have
enjoy
the group
ourselves.
share out their presentations? You are starting to enjoy yourselves.
Yes.
Oh dear. Don't worry, don't worry. There's going to be plenty of room for enjoyment. So can we have the share out? So Ibuku, what's going to be the pattern? Which group is going to come first?
I guess Letshego could go first.
Okay, let's have Letshego in that case.
If they can just share their how might we question, just because of time, and we can just share their how might we question with us, or their how might we statement.
So who was the LBS person in the group?
What?
Okay, Emmanuel led the
Emmanuel.
conversation, but I was there with him as well.
We had Emmanuel and Timothy.
So Stella, can you speak to the how my tree?
Emmanuel, do you want to share your screen so that we just see what you're talking about?
That's fine. So I'm doing that right away.
Menoba will talk to it.
Okay, all right, fantastic. So let me share the screen. This is, please confirm you can see my screen now.
Not yet.
Can you?
Yes, yes, we can.
Okay.
So we are ready when you guys are ready.
Thank you very much. I hope all the members can hear me.
Loud and clear.
Thank you, Manuel. So Team Letshego came up with key priorities looking at our own business here in Lesotho. So what we talked around was our key priorities are diversification of product offerings, financial inclusion, digitalization, strengthening our core business, our already existing business being deduction at source, growing our customer base to 100,000 mark by end of year, skills development and capacity building so that we have the right skills for all the products that we want to bring on board. Next slide, please.
Okay.
So we went into the opportunity brief. So here, Emmanuel, please do help if I stumble. But we went around to say by understanding our internal priorities that we've already talked to in the first slide, we said of all that we mentioned, which ones are key that we will be focusing on for now. We looked at diversification of product offering, financial inclusion, and growing the customer base. We then further went on to identify the targeted customers being the underserved, which is the low and middle income earners. The desired outcome when what we have in mind after developing the product that we will be doing for the low and middle income earners is, one, every business looks after profitability. We want to make sure that that product we are able to earn profits from and also grow our customer base. So this is how might we increase our profitability? By appealing to the underserved market or the low to middle income earners. So the sense check, we went back into from the breakout rooms while we were trying to discuss the viability, feasibility, and desirability of the product that we want to develop. I'm not sure if Emmanuel, this is it, so, or I need to go more in depth.
You can speak to it if Emmanuel failed to capture it.
And let me ask my team members to also chip in.
I agree. Please, team members, get to the rescue if necessary. So why is this opportunity viable?
Yeah. So the reason we said the opportunities is viable is because you know, there's quite a lot of number of clients in this particular segment that are not accessing financial services or have very limited financial services. So if we offer them the right financial services that meet their needs, then it will certainly be a viable opportunity for us, and we'll be able to make money.
Absolutely true. So you see, viability essentially speaks to whether this opportunity you have identified is capable of growing, scaling, and whether it is something that you can actually pursue. So whether you can reach these underserved low to middle income earners with a product that would drive inclusion, grow customer base, and increase appealing to them. Now, what about feasibility?
So if I understand, but maybe the team can speak to it. Does anyone want to give it a try in that idea? Okay.
I can just give it a try. So what we are looking at, especially looking from a low to middle income earners, you're looking at a sort of what our MNOs locally are doing. We have two main ones in the business or in the company in the country, looking at around 1.1 million customers on the what. On Vodacom, which has the bigger market share and around, and also maybe considering that some of them actually are on both platforms. We're thinking or looking at around 1.5 or maybe 1.4 million of customers that we can actually appeal to if we are able to come up with solutions and products that really speaks to that market.
Great. So in feasibility, what are you trying to assess? You're trying to assess the practicality. You want to objectively explore the potential of this particular segment. Now, what about desirability? Desirability.
Okay. I think maybe in the same vein. In the same vein, what we have also identified is that we do have a lot of customers in Lesotho who to a greater extent are underserved, and we have seen them really appreciating and coming up to take up in products that actually appeal to them. And just giving a simple example with our current product that we offer at Letshego at this point in time, we are really trying to sort of close out some of that gap in terms of your low to middle income earners that we felt were underserved by the big commercial banks. So there is definitely a lot of uptake in terms of customers out there, like when you consider microloans and other products that have been put forth by other MNOs and other companies. So from a desirability point of view, we believe that we would definitely be appealing to the right market if we can definitely have solutions and products that speaks definitely to their end and increase their financial inclusion.
So essentially, a test for desirability tries to ask and answer the question: am I actually designing a solution that is a nice to have, or is this a solution that is a must have for the customer? Mm-hmm. So what I'm trying to propose, is it something that would simply be an added on benefit, or is it actually addressing and solving a real pain point? If it's not solving a real pain point and providing a compelling value proposition such that over and above everything else, people continue to use the product, then we got a problem.
Yeah.
Now, let's hear from Masupam. I hope I pronounced your name properly. I apologize in advance if I mispronounced your name.
Unfortunately, we were not yet at this stage when we went to the breakout room, when the breakout was done. But I think important to us, what we needed to have looked at, had we had the time, was, of course, we have about 1.3 million active customers on the Vodacom M-Pesa platform, which implies that they are financially active, low-income people. Now, the most important thing is to look at the numbers of people and the type of transactions, who sends who money, and then try to appreciate what that money is sent for, because that would have helped us to identify if there is even a need in the market, or whether, simply speaking, all these people need is just an opportunity to send in money and so forth, which would imply and inform us that what we need to develop to them is a better e-wallet than the one that is in the market, or which would imply to us if we need to give them more facilities beyond an e-wallet transactional activity. But we had not yet reached that state. But what would determine that desirability is actually their day-to-day needs, and whether the numbers in the market and what we propose would actually make them feasible. But we had not yet reached that stage.
Great. So, okay, let me take the second group before I make any further comments. Thank you so much, Masupam. And I mean, I'm delighted we're actually in this workshop and having this conversation. Okay, I can see there's another hand up, okay? Okay, let's hear from Nobandile.
Thank you very much. I think for me to add on what Masupam was just saying would be around the fact that we already have products that serve the existing the market we desire to serve. But what would talk to me around desirability would be on top, above and beyond what is already existing as a product for this market. What will we then as Lesotho do more? Because if we create a platform similar to what a competitor is already offering, there's no need for them to even come here. But what we really do is to have to assess what is it that the next person is not offering that I can do as an add-on to make my product more appealing. So then they would have that desirability to say, I can move banks from bank A to bank B because they're offering me something better, a better sweetener on top of already existing facility that I had with bank A. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Nobandile. You've done an excellent job now. So can we move to the next group? We are way behind time. We are like 15 minutes behind time. So we need to move very fast. We still have a whole lot of work to do, and I wouldn't want us to spill over.
How do we proceed?
Ibuku, who was the leader for the second group? Can the person project?
Hello, can go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much.
Please go on presentation mode.
What? Pardon? Hello.
It's
Am I
okay.
audible?
Please go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh. Okay. No, thank you very much.
Ibuku, don't worry. It's fine. Don't move to any presentation mode. Stay where you are. Go ahead.
Okay. From Phutalichaba side, I must mention that Phutalichaba is still on a startup stage. So it is a savings and credit cooperative society. So now that means our main products are on savings and also on credit. So what are our priorities now, as we discussed, would be to improve the service delivery to all our customer segments, because Phutalichaba is a kind of a digital financial cooperative. That is one of its kind. So that issue of being digital says there may be challenges to reaching out to all segments, because of maybe some people are illiterate, or some people are in fear of technology. So we want to see ourselves improving how we can best be able to reach to all those segments while we remain digital. So also we want to increase the volume of our loans, because we want to diversify in order to increase our income streams. But the income stream that is already existing now is that is through loans. That is the cooperative now, since it's a savings and credit, most of the money that we have is the savings of the customers. But that means the institution itself does not yet have the money generated for the institution. So loans is another way of increasing the income generated by the or for the institution. So we think if we can increase on that loans disbursed, we can have more income generated for the institution. Then I already mentioned is the savings and credit. We seem to have been concentrating on one savings product, which is the compulsory monthly savings. We have another savings products, but they are not that active. And we think if we can improve these existing savings products, we can be able to mobilize even more funds than we are already having now. So when we identified the target market, or the target customers, it is actually almost everyone, because we understand we want to promote the culture of savings, and saving can be done by everyone. That is whether you are employed, you are a student, or you depend on your pocket money. We believe that you must save something from that. But however, we have realized that thus far, some people who have constant or reliable incomes every month are the ones who are able to save. So that means if we want to improve, if we concentrate on increasing the loans, and then concentrate on the people who have formal jobs, like who have constant or reliable incomes per month, then we can see ourselves achieving that target of improved loans. So the desired outcome is easy access to those loans, and we think we can achieve that maybe by increasing the magnitude or the volume of the loans disbursed, and also increasing the period, because we are only having loans to a maximum of twice what you have as your total savings. So maybe if we could increase maybe to 3 times what you have as your total savings, that loan becomes a bit more attractive, because we are saying these employees can be able to say, I cannot go to a certain bank to take a loan to pursue whatever I want to pursue. But if the loan amount is less, it says taking a loan from us is not going to help a customer achieve whatever they want to achieve. So if the loan amount is a little bit bigger, and then it says they become more attractive. And also, if the period is a bit longer than 12 months, it says the installment for the loan is going to be lower, and in that way it also becomes a bit more attractive. So that will help us to achieve that goal of increasing the volume of loans dispersed. So yeah, so at drafted, how might we statement using the following? So yes, we are saying we want to help the employees who have permanent employment to to have increased or attractive loans. Yes. So I think by the time we had to take off from the break, we were yet to deliberate on this, on the sense check, the viability, the feasibility, and the desirability. So I don't know. We had not yet.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I think I've spoken a bit about desirability, viability, and feasibility in the other group. Let's quickly move to the next activity. Can we have the slides very quickly? Okay, next slide. Now, concept creation. A concept looks like an answer to an opportunity brief. So remember, in the opportunity brief, you're trying to define the opportunity. You're trying to describe the market segment. You're trying to ask and answer the how might we question that links the needs of the target segment to the opportunity you've identified, as well as to the internal priorities of your institution. What the concept now tries to do is the concept now tries to polish the idea and now brings the idea to a stage that can be tested during prototyping. So essentially, during concept creation, what do you do? Now, you guys are going to go back into the breakout groups. Using the same opportunities you've created, you're now going to name your solution. You will define your target user. You will define your target user. You will describe the solution, and then you will state the value proposition of the solution, and then list out the use cases. Next slide, so that I can quickly explain what all of these mean. Now, name your idea. Your idea is more or less whatever you call it. So this is more like a brand name. Of course, it's important to use a name that speaks to the circumstances of the idea. Now, in describing your target user, you're going to provide a bit more detail over and beyond a generic description of who the target customer is. So in this section, you're going to tell us who the user is, what the characteristics of the user are, and what makes this user distinct or stand out. Now, the third stage will be describing the solution. So in describing the solution, you want to describe how the solution works. Whether it's on a monthly or on a quarterly, how is this solution actually going to work and solve problems for the customer? Now, let's get to the bit more tricky parts of the concept, the value proposition. Now, in the value proposition, you're trying to answer 3 questions. How will your idea or your solution solve the problem of the target user? So 3 questions. How will your idea solve the problem of the target user? The second question is, what are the pains the target user has that this solution is going to take away? So what are the pain relievers in your product? And the third question is, what are the gains? So what does the customer want to gain or benefit from this product or service? And how will this solution offer those benefits? So what are the problems or activities this product is going to deliver to the customers, to the target customer? The second is, what pain does the target customer have that this product is going to take away? And the third is, what gain does the target customer want that this product will offer? Now, the last part of the concept canvas are what we call use cases. And what are use cases? Use cases describe an occasion or an event where a solution is actually used. So will this solution be used in a savings occasion, in a credit occasion, in a loan occasion, in a repayment occasion, or to help manage liquidity, help manage cash flow? So what are the occasions in which this particular product or solution will be used? So these are the things you need to ask and answer in developing or fleshing out the concept. Any questions?
Perfectly clear.
So perfectly clear. Great. So can we move into our breakout rooms, Ibuku?
Okay, no problem, sir.
Hello, Dr. Nkem, are you there?
Yes, I am here. Okay, great. So can we have Letshego group? We'll have just 1 minute.
Maybe you can share your screen and maybe just quickly take the thing through what we discussed. Emmanuel, are you there? Or are you able to share from your side, Emmanuel?
We are running out of time.
Let me try. If you can quickly share, Bandile, can you please just quickly, as discussed, take the team through our third process?
Yes, please, very quickly.
So if I may, we going from what we had previously, we came up with instant loans as a solution, which will be offered, of course, to our low to middle income earners as we have them on the M&O platforms. So that will necessitate that we, of course, partner with the M&Os and to facilitate us now find a solution to the customer who on the front end. We'll do so through creating live linkages and or APIs between us, core banking system, as well as the M&O system. Now, the customer will access the solution through either the USSD, or they can simply also go into our digital channels, such as our app and or the app offered by the M&O. Now, what you're looking at as a product that is easy that will give the customer ease of access to financing, which is simple and convenient. And one thing that we're debating was around it being potentially even cheaper. And in that, we are likely not looking at high administration fees, given the fact that this product will be offered through digital means. Now, the users that we were looking into. The customer will use the funds or loan towards paying for their utilities, financing for emergency financing. Now, capital for small projects, they can also have access to simple and simple capital funding. So we're yet to go into additional items on the list, but that's essentially what we were thinking.
Great, great, great. I think this is good. This is really good. Excellent work. Excellent work. You clearly named the idea well. You've defined the target user. You've described the solution, describing how it works. You've articulated the use cases. And then you've gone ahead to describe the value proposition of this solution. I think you've done a good job. Thank you so much. Can we have the next group? We're way not doing well with time. Woo! Okay, thank you very much. Uh-oh.
Okay, from our side, as we continue, we come up with the name of the product as Phutalichaba Booster Loan. That is the loans that we are saying. In this way, Phutalichaba will be boosting the customers to achieve their needs. That will be the target market here will be the working class, like we mentioned, that will be the some salaried workers, or those who earn some wages, or those who have some daily earnings. But at the end of the day, those are the people who have constant incomes. So in terms of the solution, since this is a savings and credit cooperative, by law, the loans are restricted only to the members of the cooperative. And then relative to what other financial institutions will require, maybe as collateral, in this case, the collateral can be the savings of someone who is who is taking the loan. So we can give you maybe 3 times what you have as your total savings, versus the current loans that we are offering now is we are giving you 2 times what you have as your total savings. So if we improve on this product, we'll be giving you 3 times what you have as your total savings, and that will be making it more attractive, and that will be making it to solve maybe even some valuable problems the customers may be needing. So for you to be eligible to access that loan, you must be a member, and you must have been saving for at least a minimum of 3 months in the cooperative. Yeah. So this will be easy accessed to this kind of customers there, because they are digital, in the sense that for you to apply for a loan, you just get to our website, and then since you're a member, you log in to your account, and then launch a loan application. It will be approved. And then while the loan have been approved, then the money is transferred to your bank account. That means wherever you are in the world, as long as you are a member of the cooperative, you can easily access this kind of a loan. So it will be helping the customers for their different type of needs, such as maybe someone might have an emergency like a funeral and they did not have maybe a funeral policy. But in this way, you can be able to finance that activity. Sometimes we have some people who have maybe side jobs, like you are already employed, but you have a certain business, and then you have a purchase order to maybe to supply a certain institution, then you don't have enough cash to finance that activity. So this is where you can be able to access such, and like also like the side hustle. And then sometimes there might be the out of the blue, there might be maybe because of economic changing, there might be a financial asset that is available or that is cheaper at that time. And then that is a great investment opportunity that you might be able to finance through the loan you obtained from us. And also maybe for medical purposes that come without you planning them, you planning for them, and it's still an emergency. Yeah, I think that is how far we discussed.
I think this is good. I am super excited. I think you guys all did excellent jobs. So ladies and gentlemen, I think we've done a good job today, learning how to define the opportunity. We started out by defining HCD. We've learned how to define the opportunity, and then we've gone on to learn how to actually flesh out the concept canvas. So moving forward, for tomorrow, I'll show you how to do concept testing, how to create personas, and how to carry out customer journey maps. So that's essentially what we're going to be doing on day 2 by Thursday. So I'll invite my colleague Ibuku now to open up the slides for IPA to take you through customer research very quickly so that we can close.
Okay, can we go to the next slide, please? So very quickly, I just want us to start thinking about the next stage of this workshop, which is going to be basically refocusing our efforts from just promoting products to thinking about the customer and putting the customer or the product user at the center of product design. And so I want to give you a quick example of some of the customer research that you could end up doing by showing you an example of some IPA research. So in 2021, IPA partnered with a local NGO in Lesotho to do some qualitative research. And we spoke with about 30 women in 3 different locations to understand the types of financial products and services they've used and what they thought of them. And this gave us an insight into how they use financial products, why they use certain services, and their perception of financial service providers. We also looked at information about the woman's business. So we looked at the type of business, how her business was going, and the challenges and successes she experienced. We then looked at household dynamics, so how are decisions over purchasing made within the household. And then we looked at questions around, or then we asked questions around financial inclusion and community level social norms. And the reason we asked kind of like all of these other questions besides just her business operations is that we wanted to see what kinds of external factors were kind of influencing or could potentially be influencing some of her business decisions. Next slide, please. And so we set up a problem statement based on some initial exploratory research and qualitative interviews. And it was important for us to define a problem statement because it would then inform kind of everything else we ended up doing. So including how we wanted to kind of measure success, how we wanted to think about what sort of product or service would work. And so our statement here is that our statement suggests that women do have certain, do practice certain financial behaviors like saving money or borrowing money, but they tend to use informal or alternative sources. But they do want to use safe and affordable services. And so this kind of suggests that formal financial products might not currently be meeting their needs. And we were able to back up this problem statement with some conversations we had with these women entrepreneurs, which we've listed here. We've summarized them below. Okay, next slide. So given the problem statement, we then wanted to establish key indicators. So how did we kind of want to measure a baseline of whether these women were financially included or not? Since there's no real typical definition of financial inclusion, it was important that we were very clear about what we wanted to understand. So instead of looking at just financial inclusion broadly, we asked women if they were banked. And we didn't just classify them as banked or unbanked. We got into the specifics about the number of bank accounts they own, have ever owned, and which ones they primarily use. And then we were able to classify them into more specific categories, such as banked, multi-banked, previously but not currently banked, and never banked. And so what we're really trying to have you take away from this is that, people don't necessarily fit into neat categories. You often need to dig a little bit deeper. So for example, if you look at only account ownership and account usage, you're missing a little bit of the picture. So you need to understand what drives people's preferences and financial behaviors. And so as you see under these categories, we did a little bit more segmentation. So we looked at, people who were multi-banked, for example, they had specific reasons for opening up different bank accounts. People that were previously banked had specific reasons for closing their last bank accounts. It's not just that they weren't aware of an account, it's that they had an account and they might have had a bad experience for an example. Okay, next slide. And so kind of to build up what I was just talking about is that we see from the people that we spoke with that they had a wide range of experiences and different levels of financial sophistication. The majority of the people we spoke with actually had multiple bank accounts. And so we kind of identified more characteristics that align with these categories. So for example, women with multiple banks had many reasons for opening an account, including to earmark accounts for different purposes, like investments, salaries, savings, etc. Women with only one account used it for savings, most likely. Women that used to have an account perceived that an account added no added value, and that women that never had an account thought that it would be too costly for them to have an account. And so we also see some trends in business registration, business type, and age of experience. And so what's interesting to me is that even amongst the multi-banked population, there's a wide variation in whether or not they were satisfied with the financial provider, which suggests to me that women that use these products had some kind of like intrinsic demand for these products. And it's not necessarily a pull factor from the financial provider. And I think this poses a great opportunity for the financial service provider. So if we think back to the example of Juntos, we can think about that maybe building trust and communication is an opportunity here. Next slide. So this is just focusing on the two latter categories. So looking at people who were never banked or perhaps were previously banked. And so we see that the never banked group that we talked to had more psychological barriers to opening a bank. They assumed that banks were too costly or were out of reach for them for one reason or another. People that were previously banked had more real world experiences that influenced their behavior. So they usually had a bad experience that disincentivized them from continuing to use their account. So the reason this is important is that one approach won't necessarily fit both of these groups of people, even though both of them currently don't have a bank account. So perhaps for the never banked, an information campaign about fees and eligibility could be useful, but for the previously banked, it might not be useful because they have this information already and they're more concerned about understanding or improving the interpersonal exchanges between, I don't know, let's say bank employees and themselves. Okay, next slide. Okay, and then here are just some quotations, but in the interest of time, you can review this on the platform if you're interested. So next slide. So I think this I will also go over. I mean, this you can also go over on the e-learning platform, but this is a case study of Esther. She's a real person. Her name's been changed, but we talked to her in the fall. She used to have a salary job, but then decided to start a business. She saw an opportunity in the market, so she decided to capitalize on it. She had a bank account that she used for normal savings and withdrawals while she was a salaried employee. And then when she transferred over to having her own business, she tried to use her bank account for business purposes as well. So not only as for savings and investments, but maybe for payments as well. So if her customers wanted to pay her electronically, she thought she could use it for that service as well. But while she had good experiences with the bank, the charges for the services she now needed were too high. So she ended up closing her bank account and using M-Pesa instead. So for Esther, this was a decision that worked for her. It was a decision that suited her current needs and suited her current employment needs. But from the bank's perspective, they lost out on a consumer because her needs changed. And so what we can take away from this is rather than just supplying a product and trying to get everyone or a specific customer base to take up this product, can we think about the customer's need? And can we think about how we can offer a suite of services or an offering of services that they can take whether as their needs begin to evolve? And I'm seeing some questions in the chat about whether this will be shared. So all of these slides will be on the e-learning platform. And I think that there will be more details about some of these cases on there as well. Okay, next slide. Okay, so we're coming up on the end of our first session. I'm sure some of you have questions. If you have questions and we're not able to get them by the next 15 minutes, definitely feel free to send one or all of us an email. I think there's also a chat function on the e-learning platform where you can kind of like post discussions. So one of our facilitators will offer some closing remarks, but I do have some housekeeping points for you all. So first, make sure you have access to this e-learning platform. If you don't, please reach out to someone from IPA or someone from Lagos Business School. For those of you that have already been able to log in, make sure you go on the platform over the next day because you will have some homework. You'll see that the day 2 module will already be available and there'll be some readings or some videos that you can watch before Thursday. We do really expect that these activities will be complete by then so that we can have a productive discussion for day 2. Yes, Timothy, sorry, go ahead.
Thank you, Tari. So just before you close, we're hoping that Emmanuel will be able to quickly do a walkthrough on the e-learn platform.
Great.
And perhaps take a few questions if there are any.
Wonderful, thank you.
Okay, Iboku, please stop sharing. Okay. Please confirm you can see my screen.
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Oh, sorry, I stopped sharing already. Okay, so good afternoon, good morning from wherever you are. Okay, Lesotho is good morning. Now, very quickly, I want to run you through the e-learn platform. So this is a browser. My default mode is dark, so please forgive me. But so you just come here. Let me make it. I sent you a link yesterday and login detail. So this is elearn lbs.edu.ng. So this is where the asynchronous sessions are posted, and there are lots of things. So the cost on its own is about 60% asynchronous, which means that what you are hearing now is about 40% of the total content of the course of this workshop. So about 60% of it is posted on this page. So as soon as you log into elearn, if you are a new user, just going to go to the home page. You're going to see something like this if you are a new, the first time of logging in, and it will help you to sign in, right? So you will see a login page. For me here, I have used this platform before, and that's why you are seeing this. But let me quickly try and demonstrate that. I hope I can. So this is sign in. This works. Okay, so just a minute, please. I will log out. Okay, great. So when you come into elearn, you're going to see something of this nature. And the first thing you want to do, because you are a first-time user, it will prompt you to enter your login details. And so you're going to see something like this. Now, please take notes. My name is Emmanuel Umukoro, right? So the first letter of my name is I, then this is my surname. I have 2 accounts on elearn, that's why this one is carrying 2. So take, for instance, Tanvi Jaluka will be T Jaluka, that is just the username. Then your default password is change, capital C, HANGE, me, #123. That's so it's contained in the email I sent to you. As soon as you log into the platform, it will prompt you to reset your password, to change your password, which after doing, you come back to the login page again. By the time you come to the login page, you enter the new password details here. You click login and it takes you straight into elearn. Because you are a first-time user, this is what you are going to see, not this screen now. So you are going to see this very screen that is before you. So you see elearn platform Lagos Business School. Just scroll down and you will see unit programs, right? So you click on unit programs on this grid, and it takes you straight into the environment of the different programs. So you see Sustainability Center, you see SIDFS Learning. Please, this is SIDFS Learning. This is where I want you to click on. So you click on SIDFS Learning. All of these links and these procedures have been itemized in the email I sent to you yesterday. So these are 2020 courses. These are 2021. These are for 2022. Click on the 2022 window, that dialog box, and it takes you to the courses that we have done so far this year. So this is IPA, the HCD workshop. This was the first cohort we ran, and this is the second cohort which you belong. I want you to click on this one so you can see the moment your cursor hovers around it, you can see where you click to log in. So when you click to log in, this is the environment you are going to see. Let me switch to student role. Great. Because you are registered as a student. And this is what you see. So you can see general announcement, you will see orientation, you will see day 1. Day 1, you see day 2. Day 2, you cannot access it right now because it's not available until 12 a.m. tomorrow morning. So come to getting started orientation. You see, welcome to IPA, meet the team, the workshop live session, which is what we're currently doing. I tell you about it, expectation setting, workshop rudiments, the things you need to do, products lab overview, HCD lab overview, the timetable for this workshop. So if I come here and I click on the timetable for this workshop, it will open, and this is what I get. So you can see everything that you are doing today has been stated here. Tomorrow's timetable not tomorrow, Thursday's timetable, next week Tuesday's timetable, and next week Thursday's timetable. So everything is here, so you can plan your day well, right? So I quickly leave here and go back to the course environment. So there are some pre-reading material that we curated. You also click here, we take you to that, so you can see behavioral model for financial health, customer experience toolkits. You see what is human-centered design. Some materials that you should naturally read before you get into the session. I'm sure some of us did that yesterday. So this is for day 2, day 1, sorry. And you click on day 1. What you are going to see here might be a little bit different from what you had today. Different in the sense that what you did today was a kind of a summary, high learning points for today's activities. But there are other videos that we have curated, which if you open them, it takes you, so you can see there is a short video on telling you what is human-centered design. There's another video from the Lagos Business School. If you click on them, you open and it will read. Then you see other readings, human-centered design by interaction design, the 7 tenets of HCD, what is HCD by DC design, and all of that. When you finish going through this, all you need to do is to come here and click on opportunity brief, which was what you did, and you see another video on opportunity brief. It's entirely different from the one. So this gives you elaborate explanation on what opportunity brief is. So there is a toolkit we have also added here. If you click on it, it will tell you more about opportunity brief. So on page 14 to 17 of that toolkit, you will see how to define your opportunity brief. Now, you come back here to day 1 and you see, so all the topics we treated today, there are more topics that you can see here. Introduction to customer, identifying priority segments, surfacing hypothesis. If I click on this, you're going to see more content pops up. So for every lesson, there is a short video that has been curated. Every lesson, there is a short video. Every lesson, there is a short video. So this is what helps you to understand and gain more from the workshop itself. If you do not come to the lab, to the e-learn, you will likely miss out on about 60% of the content for the lab. Usually we do this workshop for a period of 6 to 8 weeks. So right now it is compressed just because of your timetable, your schedule. Now, so tomorrow you will see by 1 a.m., 12 a.m. tomorrow morning, you will see day 2 is activated. By next week, I think on Sunday, you will see day 3 activated. By on Wednesday next week, day 4 is activated. So you come here and you will see workshop and evaluation. Every day, I have left this one active so that I can use it to do a demo. So every day, today's lesson, for instance, the slide presentation for today are going to come here. In about 2 hours time, we will have compressed all of those files and uploaded them here. So you can come back to the slides and read through and reflect on today's learning. Day 2, you are going to see the same thing. Day 3, you will see the same thing. Day 4, you will see the same thing. Then the assignments we will give to you, they will also be here. Evaluation and feedback will also be here. So take note of this page, workshop presentation and evaluation. There are some assignments we'll give to you. If you don't complete them, IPA and the Lagos Business School will not issue you the certificates for this workshop. By the time we complete the entire course, you will be able to come here and download your certificate. It's not available now because it's not been activated. So ladies and gentlemen, this is how e-learn looks like, right? I don't know if there's any question. We have made it so simple so that it can speak, to you, so that you have a full understanding and get the best out of the workshop itself. We also want you to come up here and click on my profile so you can update your profile. We will know more about you. So right now, this is me. By the time you come to my profile, you'll be able to edit your profile. So you can see edit profile here. You click on edit, you will see how to populate all of this. These are the courses that I have done. And then you'll be able to see your login activities. You will see your course grades as well, because for every activity that you complete, a point will be awarded to you, right? So if you don't meet certain amount of a certain score, you will not be able to get your certificate. Now, let me just quickly talk to that. When I mean, so your attendance must be 80% of the total sessions, which means that for a 3-hour program, we're expecting you to be online for at least 2 hours, 30 minutes every day, even though we want you to be present for the entire 3 hours. So 2 hours, 30 minutes every day of the program, you should be present online at least. Every activity that the classroom, sorry, the activities we did today, you didn't know, but we were scoring your participation. So for those who were not very active in the group work we did, you missed out on some points. We just wanted to do that to take you by surprise. And that means that of all the activities we are going to do, you need to also score 80% of class participation and breakout room exercise before you are able to get a certificate for completion. I think let me stop here and answer any question that might be on your mind. Any question? So let me quickly ask, has everybody been able to log in? Have you all received your login details? Apart from Mohale, Nobadile, Seloan, I think these are the only 3 people that I know we have not sent login details to because your names came a bit late. But every other person, you have received your login details. So is there anyone who is having difficulty at this point? Great, nobody. Timothy, over to you.
Okay, it's over to Tanvi actually to close.
Oh, okay. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, it's been an interesting day 1 for every one of us, and I think you have the whole of tomorrow and this evening to just go back and reflect on the introductory session for today, so that when we come back on on Thursday, we have a fuller audience and an elaborate participation. In the meantime, please, I want to emphasize here that you need to be on e-learn. You need to be on e-learn, otherwise you will not be able to make good use of these resources. So these are lots of materials that have been curated for you. So please, 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 and I am begging again, come online and consume these materials that we have carefully curated just for you. Don't forget, IPA has graciously funded this initiative, and we want to see that impact. At the end of the session of the 4 days, we do an evaluation where we will give a report to IPA to judge whether there is a change, because we expect that when we finish, we roll out these products that we are developing to be able to drive financial inclusion and reduce poverty. So this will be all from me. Good. Nobadile logged in successfully. Peter, you logged in successfully. That's good to know. Great, great. So Tambi, any last word from you?
Thank you all so much. I was jumping in on some of the breakout rooms, and it was great to hear your thoughts and how excited and interactive you all were. So I'm looking forward to the rest of the 3 days. And thank you, LBS, for facilitating today.
Thank you. So I will send out an email as soon as the content for day 1 is uploaded, so you can go back and download it and digest it. Right? From the LBS team, have a wonderful evening. And to our colleagues in the US, good morning.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. You have a great evening and afternoon, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.